Episode 3, Six Sigma. Welcome to the third episode of the Lean English podcast. My name is Tom, and I will be your host. Thank you for joining me. I know there are many other podcasts that you can listen to, so I thank you for spending your time with me today. If you haven't listened to the first 2 episodes, I have a question for you. What are you doing with your life? What, are you too good to listen to them? You have better things to do, is that it? You and I both know that's not true. Stop kidding yourself. And I've heard all the excuses about playing with your kids, spending time with your spouse, donating to charity, and planting trees to help the environment. Trust me, it's all overrated. I paid thousands of dollars and worked for years to learn what I'm going to give you for free. You could at least listen to the first 2 episodes. Out of respect or out of boredom, out of fear, I don't care. But if you didn't, here's the recap. My podcast is designed for the intermediate level English speaker who wants to also learn how to improve their business. You might be a manager who needs help solving problems, or someone who wants to advance their career and needs to acquire some new skills. If you are new to process improvement methodologies, you might not know where to start. The podcast starts at a high-level review of Lean, Six Sigma, and Agile to help you choose which method is best. We will then cover more specific tools and techniques so you can feel confident when you decide to implement changes in your organization. In the first episode of the Lean English podcast, I laid out the differences between these methods. Lean is the least complex to understand, easiest to implement, and quickest to show benefit. Six Sigma has a more rigid project structure, is more technical, and may require additional tools to implement. Agile is primarily for software development, uses many lean principles, and reduces the time for product delivery. Then in the second episode, I covered Lean in a little more detail. Lean is a great methodology to start with and easy to adapt to many different types of business. It is a composite of tools and techniques developed over years with the contribution of many individuals and companies, particularly the Toyota Motor Company. Lean uses 5 focusing steps to help companies understand customer requirements, reduce waste, generate flow in their production, and identify and solve company-wide problems. Now that you are up to speed, let's jump right into our topic for today. So buckle up because we have a lot to cover and not a lot of time to do it. For this episode, we will dive into Six Sigma. Six Sigma's structure is significantly different from Lean's. Six Sigma is a toll-gated project management method for process improvement. As Lean focuses on waste elimination, Six Sigma projects seek to reduce variation, the cause of unpredictable and unwanted results. Customers have high expectations that can be very precise, specifically when it comes to matters of safety, and the only way to ensure your processes meet these expectations is through statistical process control. Measurements for every aspect of the business are taken and analyzed to determine how to improve performance and customer satisfaction. A company that is performing at a Six Sigma level experiences only 3.4 defects per million opportunities. Before we speak about the tools they share, let's cover two important differences between Lean and Six Sigma. The first concerns profitability. Lean assumes that waste removal will lead to lower costs and better profitability. While that assumption has largely held true, Six Sigma does not assume this and requires that all projects benefit the company financially. Project champions require the team to calculate the potential return on investment, or ROI, to justify the resources required to carry out a project. The ROI is part of the business case or justification for the project and helps management determine which projects are the most profitable and which receive priority. They also use different methods for finding the cause of problems. Lean is best when the cause of the problem can be identified without intense statistical analysis. Six Sigma projects are only carried out if there is no known cause or solution to the problem. It is used when the root cause of the problem is hard to identify, and solutions may only be found through rigid scientific experiments. Six Sigma is essentially the scientific method adapted for businesses. Now, there is a lot of overlap between the two methods as there are many lean tools used during Six Sigma projects. As I mentioned in episode 1, they are complementary. For starters, teams will use tools developed in Lean to better understand their process. In the define phase, value stream and process mapping help identify the current state. And during the improve phase, it may be necessary to implement visual management, 5S, and Hijunka to show the workers the best way to perform new tasks. And end-on systems may be installed to automatically alert the workers that a defect has been created and that they need to stop production before more problems occur. Six Sigma practitioners also understand the importance of Lean's other principles. Value is identified by the customer, waste reduction is necessary, true solutions address the root cause of the problem. All these tools are embraced in Six Sigma, which is why we often see them combined in one methodology, Lean Six Sigma. But for our podcast, we have to treat them separately because it is easier to understand them that way. Now let's talk about the Six Sigma project model. There are 5 phases to every project that must be completed sequentially. This means they must be carried out in order. Skipping a phase is forbidden. The phases are define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. After the team completes their work for a phase, they meet with the project's leadership at a tollgate meeting. The team shows the work they have completed and tries to convince the project champion that they are ready to move to the next phase. The champion then approves the team's request or sends them back to work. If the root cause of the problem becomes evident after some initial study, then a business case is made to implement a solution and it is put in place. There is no need for a Six Sigma project at this point. In the define phase, the team identifies a specific problem that needs to be fixed, justifies the project by showing their boss the financial benefits, and creates a cross-functional team and plan to do it. The goal of this phase is to understand the problem being addressed. After the project champion is satisfied that the problem is well defined, the team moves to the measure phase, where they quantify the current performance. In the measure phase, you gather as much relevant data as you can afford to understand everything about the problem. Once the champion is satisfied that the baseline data has been collected and the problem has been quantified, they permit the team to move to the analyze phase. In the analyze phase, you look at the data to identify the root cause of the problem. Often teams try to skip straight to the improve phase and implement a solution that has not been properly vetted. I offer a word of caution. This often ends in failure as the problem is not always completely understood. Finding the cause and effect link is a crucial step in the project. Solutions can only be effective if they address the root cause. In the improve phase, you search for and implement the solutions to the root cause. The team develops and tests solutions in scientific experiments to identify the best way to move forward. In the control phase, the team documents and provides training on the new process and monitors the results to ensure that the solution continues to provide the desired benefit. Once the team shows that the new solution is in control and that the new process is being followed, the project can end. Now that we have spoken about its structure, let's talk about Six Sigma's tools. We use the word tool to cover documents, diagrams, maps, and activities that help us learn more about our problem and create solutions. For the define phase, we will talk about the project charter and the SciPoc diagram. Then we will discuss some basic statistics and how the measure phase uses the data collection plan and process mapping. To help identify root causes, we will cover cause and effect diagrams and hypothesis testing. And for the improve phase, we will describe brainstorming techniques and how to design experiments. And we will finish with the control phase, process monitoring and SOPs. Although it is not a phase per se, it is important to also know how to properly close a project. Now I want to talk about why cross-functional teams are so important and why it is necessary to have a project sponsor with significant influence. Most organizations are broken down into functional areas for easier management and organization of work. This can lead to problems if the functions don't work together. For example, the design team works in their offices and rarely shares their work with anyone else. The production team is in the factory, and the sales team is meeting with clients. Everyone is focused on their own work. But when issues arise, this isolation can keep individual functions from solving enterprise-wide problems. Enterprise-wide means throughout the enterprise or company. To break down the barriers to information, the process improvement team must be independent of functional restrictions. Teams need to be able to work with all different functions so they can find and solve root causes of problems. This is where the project sponsor's support is so important because they can open doors that would normally be closed. The Six Sigma belts are a very important part of these teams. In our first episode, we spoke about the roles and responsibilities of people on a Six Sigma team, so I won't repeat that here. This is just concerning the belts. A belt is a facilitator with specific knowledge of how Six Sigma projects are managed. The color of the belt indicates their experience and capability to manage projects of different sizes and complexity. There are many companies that train employees at very basic levels and have recently added white and yellow belts to the lexicon of Six Sigma experts. But I would not trust any one of these to guide or manage a project. So we will start with green belts as the lowest level of Six Sigma expert. Green belts normally have about 6 months of general Six Sigma training and only work on projects part-time. Although when I started there was no specific training for green belts, new curriculum and certifications are available from companies that outline their required knowledge. They can manage smaller projects by themselves, and to gain experience, they often assist black belts on larger projects. Sometimes they start their careers as data analysts or team members and find they enjoy project work, so they request additional training to become a Six Sigma belt. Black belts have years of project, leadership, and statistical training. They must pass exams and complete high-level projects before they receive their certification. They can lead cross-functional teams without the need of oversight and work as dedicated, full-time resources in the project management office. Their projects must save significant amounts of money to be valid and justify their high salaries. Master black belts reach this level after years of project work as a black belt and are seen as subject matter experts in many areas of the business. They advise executive leadership and lead enterprise-wide, multi-year projects. They also can develop curriculum and training for lower belts, and it is often required that the manager of the project management office have a Master Black Belt certification. Now that you know a little bit about the project structure and who is involved, let's dive into the first phase and talk about what the team will try to accomplish and how they will move forward. This is the define phase. There's a lot that happens during the define phase, but we will only cover 2 items in depth in the hope that it will give you an idea of what is happening without taking up your entire day. I have a green belt course that covers these topics in more detail, but it is about 40 hours of instruction, so I had to summarize it so it would fit into one episode. Identifying which problems to solve and which projects to approve happens before the project even begins. Aligning your company's goals with your customers, benchmarking your performance against your competition, and listening to your owners and stakeholders is critical to making sure your Six Sigma projects improve what is most important to your company. Once the project has been selected, the team must really understand what the customer is telling you. What do their purchasing patterns mean? How have their requirements changed over time? Has your technology advanced so that you can now give them something that will really delight them? When we discuss the Kano model in future episodes, we will talk about how some features are more important than others. During the define phase, there are some documents that need to be created to guide the team through the project. We will talk about the project charter in our next slide, but the team will also need a communication plan, a meeting room dedicated to the project, and other tools they will use during future phases. These should all be provided by the project management office in advance. Other management and planning tools will be created during this phase to help the team understand the nature of the project. Affinity diagrams, interrelationship digraphs, and others guide the team and help set expectations. As we are creating new teams for each project, many of the members will be unfamiliar with each other and with how Six Sigma teams work, so they will need to be coached on team dynamics. Team leadership should keep an eye on domineering personalities and work to reduce any personal conflict between members. Now let's talk about one of the most important documents in Six Sigma, the project charter. The charter is a formal document created by the project manager, project sponsor, and other stakeholders, and authorizes the project manager to perform activities using the company's resources. They serve many purposes. The charter helps the PMO keep track of projects that are underway. This simplifies the company's planning and forecasting for process improvement events. Officially, the charter marks the end of the project selection phase. Of the ideas that were being discussed, this project was officially approved and authorized. The charter is signed by the project sponsor during a kickoff meeting where all the team members and stakeholders get together to discuss the plan for the project. The charter outlines project expectations regarding project scope, benefits, timeline, and quality metrics. The team will refer to the charter throughout the project to see if they should maintain their current course of action or change. The charter is a living document, so it may be altered if the company's priorities change. Let's cover 3 important statements in this document. The problem statement specifies and quantifies the problem. The problem statement specifies and quantifies the problem, letting the team know how long it has been going on and how it impacts the organization and how the current state differs from our expectations. The business case outlines the why of the project, the reason the project is moving forward. It covers the project's strategic and financial benefit for the company. The scope statement lets the team know where the project starts and ends. This helps the team focus on the relevant processes and limits the resources the company provides. There are 6 steps to chartering a Six Sigma project. Obtaining a problem statement. The problem statement should not try to identify the cause or solution of the problem. If you already know the cause of the problem, then just implement a solution. You don't need a project in that case. Identifying the principal stakeholders. These are the internal and external customers that provide the voice of the customer. Creating a macro flow of the process. It is helpful for the team to visualize the process that will be examined and improved. A high-level view is sufficient during this phase, as more detailed maps will be created later. Selecting the team members. Again, cross-functional teams are best for Six Sigma projects, preferably filled with diverse team members who can also work across functional lines. Training the team. Some members of the team may have worked on a Six Sigma project before, but many will need to be trained. This is the responsibility of the Six Sigma belt, or possibly the PMO will provide a course. Selecting the team leader. Yes, the Six Sigma belt and process owner are on the project, but they often have more projects and responsibilities at the same time. There needs to be a dedicated project manager who leads all the daily activities. We spoke about the need during the define phase to get a high-level view of the process, and the SciPoc tool does just that. It gathers a lot of information in one place and helps the team identify some important data points. SciPoc is an acronym that stands for Supplier, Input, Process, Output, and Customer, and on the document each has its own column. In the supplier column, you list all the suppliers that provide something to the process you are investigating. Then in the input column, you list all the things that they provide. And then you continue by listing the major steps in the process, all the outputs that the process creates, and the customers that receive the outputs. This allows the team to get their arms around all the people, processes, and technologies that concern the project and start to show how they influence one another. Other items listed at the bottom of the document are the critical to quality variables, or CTQs. These are the measurable characteristics of a product, process, or supply that directly affect customer satisfaction. For example, the critical to output measurements for croissants at my local boulangerie are that the exterior crust must be dark golden brown, crispy and flaky, with an interior that melts in your mouth. These are what the customer demands. And even though they appear subjective, there are some ways to measure them. For the croissant to come out of the oven like that, the critical to process metrics are the oven must be at 400 degrees and the croissant must stay in there for exactly 18 minutes and 30 seconds. Too long and it is burned, too short and it is undercooked. And the critical input measurements for the suppliers are a butter that is 80% full fat without any salt, and a flour that has a moderate protein content between 10 and 12%. These are measurables that the team can document to help them start linking problems with causes. Okay, this looks like a good place to stop. We will continue with the remaining phases in the next episode. As usual, if you have any questions or comments, you can leave them below or send me an email at info@leanenglishconsulting.com. All right, until next time, be good, and I'll talk to you later.